Most of you will have walked on these structures and not given them any thought, and I'm here to change that. These are pavement lights or also vault lights, and they were used to lighten up the basement below, mostly shops. And you can find them still a lot in Kilkenny and also a lot on the quays in Dublin. Welcome to this video where I want to show you how you can map pavement lights on OpenStreetMap. But first, a couple more words about their history. I haven't researched it deeply, but I found out a few things. I think that they were introduced around the same time as the sewage vents because there was a growing awareness about hygiene, and as you know and you've all experienced, people litter, and people have littered in the 19th century and the 20th century, and they still do so in the 21st century, unfortunately. And a lot of buildings along high streets or main shopping streets have basements because they use them for storage. Nowadays, they use the upper stories for storage more so, instead of having people live there. And they needed light there. And this was before electric lights or early days of electric lights. And so they used natural light. And before pavement lights, they had these grates that you still sometimes see, even on Parliament Street in Kilkenny, but also along the quays in Dublin and other places. And the problem with the grates was that people just dumped their rubbish down there, their cigarette butts, whatever else, and that would eventually block up the window that was below, and then you don't have any natural light coming in. So either they blocked them up, as in this example, or they introduced the pavement lights. And I only found one company where I could date the introduction of pavement light, and that's this example from Wellington Quay in Dublin. Luxfer, they were from London, and they started in around the 1880s. And there are other companies where you can still read the maker's mark on the pavement lights. It is quite rare because thousands of people have walked over them and that just drops off the metal, the lettering. But some you can still read, and I don't know if they were just replaced, because especially along the quay in Dublin, I found it hard to imagine that they have been like that for 140 years now and haven't dropped off. But some you can still read, like Luxfer and other London companies. And there's one example in Kilkenny where if the light shines in the right angle, you can still read that it's Tongue and Taggart Dublin. So that's a company that you might know already from my sewage vent videos. And these companies did cast iron goods, and this was just the frame. And the glass bits are prisms, so the light is actually increased when it comes through the pavement light. I had one example, I had one photograph from Kilkenny. It's very difficult to get access to the basements. Sometimes the shop owners don't even have access to the basements, and a lot of them asked me to ask the council. I don't know why they think the council would have access. But because people use electric light now, they have blocked up their windows with shelves and stuff, so it's very difficult to get pictures. I had one picture, and it's on my phone that broke, so I never transferred the photograph. So I don't have that example, but there are a couple of examples on Wikimedia, thank God, from America, from the United States. You find them all over the place, not just in Ireland, you find them in Europe, in Russia, in America, and so on. And thankfully, some people have taken pictures and uploaded them to Wikimedia, so I have stuff to show you that isn't just from Ireland. And then after a while, they probably figured that cast iron was getting too expensive, and they decided to use reinforced concrete instead. And those are also still around. And I'm not sure if there's any companies still making them, because there's some really badly damaged examples in Dublin where the prisms are just gone. When you're walking from O'Connell Street on Abbey Street Lower eastwards, on the right-hand side of the street, there are some really bad examples where they're just gaping holes in the pavement light frames, so to speak. That looks very dangerous to me. And as I said, they can also be mapped on OpenStreetMap. I made a wiki page for that. The tag is man-made equals pavement light. Vault light is the American, and we're not using American English on OpenStreetMap, but British English, because that's where it started. And then you can add all kinds of additional tags, like the manufacturer, if you can read it, of course, the Wikidata for the manufacturer, if it exists, the width and the depth and a description, and if there is an inscription, like something that isn't the maker's mark, like you saw in the beginning, and also up here, this one here, in Kilkenny, So the maker's mark is up there, still visible, but this would be an inscription. It's gonna be very rare, I think. It's the shop name. Well, it used to be the shop name. It's Subway's now, but it used to be J. Kelly's. And whatever else you can come up with. Material, I suppose you could use either concrete or cast iron and glass, obviously. So I walked around Kilkenny one day and I made a track or a trace, and you can see it here. It's the pink line, and I uploaded that. I think I used Osmond. I must have. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I used OSM Tracker. Maybe it was the days when my phone was broken and I had to go back to my old phone that didn't have Osmond. But so I have two here outside where Doors Optometrist used to be. I'm a bit confused about there being two, so I checked the pillory. Luckily, I also went around and got 360-degree footage in Kilkenny. And this is Door Optometrist. They've moved though. And there's the pavement light. And there is only the one. I think these are just manhole covers. I've moved around and I can only see... Well, in this picture you can't even see it. Unfortunately, my helmet is kind of in the way. But it seems to be only the one. Maybe I went there twice and I had forgotten that I had already added it to the track. I'm also kind of interested in recording all the mosaics in the entrances of all the shops in Kilkenny. I have photographed them all, but I haven't mapped them because I haven't come up with a tag for that. But that might be interesting because it tells you the former or the current owner of the shop. So RD would be, I think, Richard Door. You see the R Door there as well. I'm not sure if it's Richard. Anyway, so we'll add this one. You can add them as a node or as an area. I would recommend an area because if you use a node, it's easily accidentally moved from its location. So I'm going to use an area and I'll go in here. Might as well add the entrance as well because it's a kind of a way of knowing where it is. So this would be the entrance shop. And then the vault light is close to the entrance. And I'll attach them to the building as well to make it more difficult to delete them or to accidentally move them. So I'll just draw something that resembles a rectangle. And it's not an established tag, so you have to remember how to tag them. So replace area, yes, with man-made pavement light. That should come up though, because I have mapped quite a few already. And the material here is concrete and glass. And there is no further inscription in them. I might have photographed it also. I photographed quite a few in Kilkenny and uploaded them to Wikimedia. But I won't add that link now. I'll do that later on. Because I've explained that in previous videos, I won't go into that now. So that's one. And then there's one here. Outside Nemo, which is here. It's a very small one there. So again, I'll just add the entrance here. And then it's between the entrance and the butter slip. The market slip, sorry. And again, replace area, yes, with, make that a bit bigger. Man-made pavement light. And the material is cast iron and glass. Can't really see that in the picture. Well, it's a bit darker than concrete, but I just know that's what it is. And is there another one? I might not have added that many points here. No, that seems to be it. Well, I hope you got the idea. You draw an area or you set a node and you add the tags as suggested here, and I will add Wikimedia to this as well in case you have photographs. And well, I guess I could have added the description, wouldn't I? See, when you do this, when you drag the map, sometimes you might accidentally grab a node and drag that instead, and you wouldn't want to do that. So I'll add description. I will add as the description 4 by 3, that's the number of squares or prisms, and makers mark only Dublin legible. There was another company in Dublin that made them, the one that is outside Subways, the Kelly one, that was also made in Dublin, but not by Tom and Taggart. I can't remember. Thomas Brooke, I think, or Brooke Thomas. Should be on Wikimedia. And description 6 by 4 prisms. Yeah, and I don't have to add concrete because that's the material. That should do. And I will save this. Added pavement lights source, no, not survey, but GPS track. And save that. And we'll have a look at overpass. These two will probably not turn up in this now because it's too recent, and I'll use the wizard, make that bigger as well. And in the wizard you type in quotes man_made equals, also in quotes, pavement_light in, let's say, in Ireland, because I think I mapped the one in Clonmel and I have mapped a couple in Dublin and some in Kilkenny. Build and run query. Yeah, that's exactly those. Nobody else has done it. So there's a really, really large one in Clonmel outside a shoe shop. And you see I have added the Wikimedia Commons link and also the manufacturer, which is also Hayward Brothers that we saw earlier in the video. And I've also made a Wikidata entry for them, or maybe somebody else did. And then quite a couple in Kilkenny. Mostly along High Street, some in Parliament Street. And there's still some grates on Parliament Street, so they haven't replaced them. And one on John Street. And the one that I was able to photograph from below was this one here outside Green's Auctioneers. And the Dublin ones are all on here, Temple Bar and Eustace Street and along the quays. I haven't mapped them all because, you know, there's so many people walking there, and if you stop suddenly, you're not making any friends. So that's that. If you decide not to map them, that's okay too. But at least you know now what to look out for, and maybe you'll stop and be a nuisance in the traffic and try to read some of the maker's marks. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, you can like and subscribe. And you might also want to watch some of the other industrial history kind of videos about sewer vents or something like that. And there might be more in the future. Thanks very much for watching. Slán go fóill.